give you a specific number on that. Non-communicable disease, well, that does not spread from one host to another. What I have here is, that means it can be introduced into the body by a wound or an abrasion. The classic example is stepping on a rusty nail that gives you tetanus. But there are some other examples. Can you think of some other examples of non-communicable diseases? There's some obvious examples.
Diabetes.
Actually, I didn't think of that. That's a very good, yeah, that would definitely work. Diabetes. In other words, you cannot catch diabetes from somebody else. Perfect example. I was thinking of something else, so read my mind now.
Cancer.
Yes, you're hot today. So cancer, cancer, yeah. Because then again, you can't catch that from anybody. You get it or you don't. But diabetes is a very good example. Cancer, things like that. So there's lots of stuff that does not spread from one person to another. Or again, you can step on a rusty nail or get scratched or who knows what. Spreading infection, human reservoirs, that's us. We have lots of organisms, and they can spread to others. They're not always pathogenic. I'm just saying they can spread. People with the disease can transmit it, that's fairly obvious. By the way, a person is most contagious before he shows symptoms. In other words, most contagious before you know you're even sick. And then once you're sick, I'm not going to say that you won't transmit it, but actually your contagiousness goes way down. So you're most contagious before you show symptoms. So again, obviously people with the disease or about to get the disease can transmit it, but sometimes people without the disease can still transmit it. And these people are called carriers. So not only are they not sick, they're not going to get sick, but they still can pass it on to other people. The most famous case of this is Typhoid Mary. And Typhoid Mary now lived about 100 years ago in New York City. And she was a cook in a short order house, just a cafe somewhere. And everywhere Mary went, typhoid went with her. Everybody got sick. And she wasn't doing it on purpose. I mean, everybody agrees on that. She didn't even know that she had it, whatever. But still, people got sick. So the public health authorities in New York were tracking down, where's the typhoid coming from? And they finally found this woman, Mary, and she was called Typhoid Mary. So until they figured out what was going on, they wanted her to stay home and not interact with anybody. Well, being from New York, they're not the most cooperative of people, we'll just say that. She refused. Said, this is a free country, I can do what I want. And the authorities said, oh, no, it's not. You're going to stay home. So since she wasn't going to cooperate, she was put under house arrest. She was not allowed to leave. She never did cooperate. She was still a New Yorker. She never did cooperate. She finally died 30 years later, 1937, I believe, still under house arrest. And in honesty, you're very sensitive. In honesty, I don't think anybody ever learned really how was, again, she was not doing it on purpose, that's quite clear. But how was it being passed on? And don't know. But that's the most extreme case of a carrier. But again, you don't have to be sick with it in order to pass it on. Animal reservoirs, of course. Lots of animals, dogs and cats and mosquitoes can carry organisms. Non-living reservoirs, soil and water. Lots of diseases are waterborne. Transmission. How do you actually give it to somebody if you're doing it? Contact transmission can be direct person-to-person contact. So kissing, sexual intercourse, and so on. Colds, flu, measles, hepatitis. For some unknown reason, I forgot to include an obvious one, AIDS. That's contact transmission. Indirect contact involves some intermediate agent. It's called a fomite. So I do have AIDS here. What would the helping agent be for AIDS?
Needles.
Needles, exactly, needles. Because that's, I mean, you think of AIDS as, sexual intercourse and stuff, and that certainly can be. But also, a lot of these guys would share needles, doing drugs and stuff. The needle would be your fomite. In fact, here's some examples: tissues, cups, eating utensils from infected people. In honesty, if you're using a tissue from somebody who's sick, you should get sick. I mean, you deserve it. But these are fomites. And again, needles would definitely fall into that category. So direct person-to-person contact would be contact transmission. Indirect contact, you got something in between, the fomite. Droplet transmission, this is the one you all kind of expect, familiar with. Sneezing or coughing into the air is droplet transmission. A short distance, so colds and flu. Colds and flu. The short distance means about a meter, so 39 inches. So if you're sitting 40 inches away from somebody and they're sneezing and coughing, you can just sneer at the person because they can't reach you. Droplet transmission, so again, coughing, sneezing into the air. Not from very far. Vehicle transmission requires some kind of medium to be transmitted. So what does that mean? Well, the media can be water, food, air, blood, or drugs. So all of this would entail vehicle transmission. Those examples there, those are the media by which stuff can be transmitted. So let's see here. Waterborne, the obvious example there would be cholera. Airborne. This is not quite the same as droplet transmission. The concept's the same. Coughing or sneezing into the air. But here they travel more than a meter. So measles and tuberculosis can go more than a meter. So colds and flu don't. Measles, tuberculosis do. I'm sure I can figure out a test question on that somehow. Foodborne, well, obvious example would be spoiled food, incompletely cooked food, poorly refrigerated, this kind of stuff, spoiled. Many people don't know this. Most people do know that the Jews and the Muslims do not eat pork. So what people don't know is they think it's a religious law. It really is not. It's actually a dietary law. Because back forever ago, when these things were first being formed, the people were actually aware that eating poorly cooked pork could cause disease. They didn't really understand how it worked, but they just understood if you ate poorly cooked pork, but in those days a lot of it was, you would get sick from it. So the laws were passed, don't eat pork. So these days, it's not really that big an issue anymore, because usually it's cooked. But the laws have continued. So for both Jews and Muslims, they don't eat pork. It's really a dietary law, not a religious law per se.
Excuse me, Mark. In Muslim, yes, it is religious.
Oh, it is religious, not dietary?
No, it's forbidden.
But I'm thinking it came from dietary though.
Maybe, but it's forbidden. It's for religious.
It is religious now? Okay. I'm corrected. So it is religious now for the Muslims. But at any rate, it's still developed because it's fully cooked food.
Yeah, maybe the reason
Yeah,
was that.
originally,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyhow, food poisoning, tapeworm. Vectors are simply, thank you by the way, vectors are animals that carry pathogens from one host to another. Two categories here. Oh, I'm not where I thought I was. Arthropods are the most important group. that really means insects. Insects are arthropods. In other words, you don't really get sick from eating lobster, but insects, of course, can carry disease. So here's where I thought I was going. The two categories are mechanical transmission. That's where the animal simply carries the organism. Now, for example, your dog's out running around, picks up some fleas or lice or something, and they're carrying bacteria. See, that would be a mechanical transmission. Your dog is simply carrying the organisms around with it. Biological transmission, it would be like a mosquito. The animal bites the infected person, sucks in the blood, goes and bites somebody else, that person gets the blood. So that would be biological transmission. But again, the first one is kind of where your dog is just carrying fleas around. The second one is where a mosquito bites you, transfers blood.
And then the bubonic plague would be
What?
both. The bubonic plague would be both, right? So the fleas.
Oh,
and
very good.
the
It would.
rats on the.
I didn't think of that, but you're right. The bubonic plague would have been both. It would be both, because rats were carrying fleas. The fleas carried the bacteria would then bite the people. Very good. I'll have to put that in my lecture next time. Good thinking. Yeah, that would be a very interesting case of both. Development of disease. How do we get sick? First off, all of us know people who seem to be always sick or who never get sick. And so the host can be predisposed to a disease. Age can be a factor. Everybody knows that the older we get, the more likely we are to get sick. And if we do get sick, we're likely to stay sick longer. The older we get, basically the weaker we get. So age can be an issue. Gender is an issue. Women are healthier than men. Not only do they live longer than men, they tend to be healthier, and if they do get sick, they don't stay sick as long. So gender definitely is an issue. Climate. This may surprise you a little, but warm climates are less healthy than cold climates. When I was in Ghana, there were bugs and insects all over the place, just waiting to make people sick. If you were in the North Pole, there are no bacteria there. They can't live in the cold. You can stand out there naked and not get sick. You'd freeze, but you would be healthy when you froze.
Is
Yes,
this why Santa Claus is still alive?
no doubt. Yes. But so, like I say, it's not what you would expect, but cold climates are actually healthier than warm climates. The bacteria can't survive there. General health, that just means, are you taking care of yourself? Are you overweight? Are you drinking? Are you smoking? Are you exercising? This kind of stuff. So just general health, are you taking care of yourself? And frankly, genetics can be an issue, because sometimes you have better genes than other people. So anyhow, those are all reasons why people may or may not get sick a lot. So the actual stages of sickness, starting with a period of incubation. You've been infected, but you don't know it yet. You've been infected, but you don't know it yet. Then this is a sometimes one. This is a sometimes. A prodromal period. Early symptoms appear. I'm sure many of you have had a similar thing. Like when I'm about to catch a cold, I can kind of tell it's coming. My throat gets a little scratchy, my nose starts running. I'm not really sick yet, but I can tell that I'm in trouble. That's prodromal period. I'm sure many of you have had a similar thing. Then, the actual period of illness. You're sick. And then on the other side, of course you start getting better, a period of decline. You're still sick, but you're over the worst. You're over the worst. You're recovering. And finally, a period of convalescence. Convalescence means pretty much you're out and about, you're functioning again, but you're not yet 100%. For example, I play a lot of tennis, and after I've had a virus, I'll go out and try to play. And I'm okay, but I feel weak. My legs feel shaky. I can tell my energy level is not back. That's convalescence. Functional, but not really 100% yet. So those 5 stages are typical for diseases. I know you've all been through some. Again, the prodromal is a maybe. You might feel early symptoms, you might not. Any questions? Let's do one more of these, and then we'll switch over to our mechanisms of pathogenicity. Start with this. So many bacteria, if we're going to get sick, the bacteria have to get in. They got to get into our bodies. So many bacteria will get in through mucous membranes of the respiratory tract, so your mouth or your nose, the GI tract, gastrointestinal, so your digestive tract, so that's going to be food and water, genital urinary tract, so your anus, your vagina, the urethra, and also the conjunctiva. Anybody remember from A and P days? What? Okay, you're all pointing to your eyes, so never mind. So the conjunctiva is the membrane that covers your eye and also the inside of your eyelid. Yeah, that's the conjunctiva. I'm losing stuff I can ask on my midterm.
You're still asking.
I'm just making fun, but yeah. No, I'm just glad you guys know this. It's kind of what I like to know. So now, arguably, which means I don't want to argue about it, the respiratory tract is the most easily invaded. And I say arguably because some people claim, and I don't argue, that the GI tract might be the most easily invaded. The respiratory tract, for obvious reasons, we're all breathing. You got to breathe air into your body and stuff. So flu, measles, tuberculosis, common cold. For the GI tract, that's going to be food and water, polio, hepatitis A, typhoid fever, and on, lots of stuff. Again, let's just say they're both easily invaded. We'll go for that. So genital urinary tract could be sexual diseases, syphilis, gonorrhea, etc. Urinary tract infection. The skin normally is pretty good. It blocks bacteria unless you cut yourself. If you cut yourself, then your skin is broken and things can move in. And you might think your skin is not broken, but the chances are it's more broken than you think, your skin. Guys have to shave every day, so almost certainly there are little micro cuts in the skin. Women don't shave quite as much, but shave your arms or legs or whatever, and you might get micro cuts there as well. Bumping into a wall, you might scrape your skin. The point is, you don't have to be bleeding in order to have a micro cut. So probably your skin is fine, but there still might be microcuts. There still might be a possibility that microbes, that bacteria can get in. Parenteral route. Parenteral is the bacteria are deposited underneath the skin. Punctures, stab wounds, bites. Dog bites. So it's not just a scrape. And the bacteria is put underneath the skin.